studied the harmful aspects and beneficial aspects of insects. So today we'll continue with the beneficial aspects. So last class I was telling you about that insects have aesthetic values. So nowadays you have a lot of butterfly parks coming up. So you have a lot of butterfly parks coming up nowadays. So one butterfly park is located in Bangalore itself. So if you have a chance to visit this Bannerghatta National Park, so in the Bannerghatta National Park, there is a butterfly park. So you can see where the butterflies are reared and released into the dome. So the butterflies keep flying. So if a chance to get, try to visit this butterfly park. And also nowadays the exhibitions are being organized. So exhibitions are being organized. So I think are the slides moving? Okay. So recently in 2018, we had conducted one insect exhibition at GKK Bangalore. So this exhibition was organized at Dr. Rajendra Prasad Convention Hall. So maybe in future also we'll be conducting exhibitions like this. So you can also get a chance to visit these exhibitions. And apart from insect exhibitions, so there are also some insect museums located. So there are some insect museums also located on. So whatever the insect museum you are seeing is, so it is located at Tamil Nadu Agricultural University. So you can see all the insects displayed in this museum. Next, insects are aspiration for making some of the movies. I think you might have heard the famous director Rajamouli. So he was a director for one of the movie where Sudeep was the hero. So in that, the fly is taken as another hero. So insects are also inspiration for taking out movies. So this is a movie called Iga in Telugu, and also it was dubbed to other languages. So apart from these movies, there are several other movies that are inspired by insects, like The Flies, Mummy Returns, The Deadly Mantis, The Swarm, and The Escape from Bug Island. So these are the some of the movies which are inspired by insects. And insects are also used as jewels. So insects are also used as jewels nowadays. So nowadays we know that the ladies are more attracted towards gold, but in olden days we didn't have gold. So they use this jewel beetle wings. So these jewel beetle wings, they were used in the preparation of chains or earrings or other ornaments. So in this way, in olden days, the jewel beetle wings were used as ornaments. And nowadays, insects are used as insect models are used as ornaments. As you see in the diagrams, so these are the different earrings where insects are used as a model. So these are the wasp earrings. So these are the cicada earrings. These are the honeybees. So these are different types of earrings where where insects are used as a modeling and design. Similarly, nowadays we have the insect embedded chains also. So as you see in the diagram, So these are the insect embedded chains. For example, you can see here the ant is embedded in the chain. Similarly, the beetles are embedded in the chain. So in this way, insects are used for aesthetic purpose as well as ornaments. And nowadays, people have more craze to tattoos. So you can see the insects used as tattoos on their bodies. So this is the tattoo of ants. So similarly, we have a tattoo of various organisms. So insects are used as a model for tattooing. So in this way, insects are of aesthetic values to human beings. And nowadays, if you go to market, you'll find shirts and t-shirts which have insect prints on them. So you can see it may be in the front, or it may be in the back, or it may be on the entire shirt. So you have insect prints on the shirts. So in this way, insects are also used as models on the shirts. And nowadays, people have the hobby of collecting insects. So nowadays, insect collection is a hobby, and that gives satisfaction to the collectors. So if you look into the slides, so these are the some of the insect collections made by various peoples and stored. So if you go to any entomology department or any other institutes working on insects, so the scientists they collect the insects, so they pin them and store them like this in the insect boxes. So in this way, insect collection can be a hobby for collectors. So if you take the proportion of the beneficial insects and harmful insects in the nature, so if you take the proportion of harmful insects and beneficial insects in the nature, so here as you look in the diagram, hardly 3% of the insects are harmful, whereas 97% of the insects they are found to be beneficial or they are neutral. So neutral means they do not cause harm. Simply they will be for themselves. So if you take insects as 100%, so out of that 100%, 97% of the insects are found to be beneficial or they are found to be neutral. So neutral means they do not cause harm. Only 3% of the insects they cause harm to the human beings or their belongings. And among these insects, 75% of the insects are used for pollination purpose. That is almost three quarters. That is 75% of the food crops are being pollinated by insects and other animals. So insects like honeybees, they play a major role in pollination of crops. So remember, only 3% of the insects are harmful, whereas 97% of the insects they are found to be beneficial to the mankind. So these 3% of harmful insects can be easily manageable by judicious use of insecticides. So by spraying insecticides, we can control this 3% of harmful insects. But sometimes, due to indiscriminate use of pesticides, so this may have a negative impact on the health as well as environment. So whatever the insecticides we spray, they have to be used judiciously. But if you go for indiscriminate use of pesticides, so that will have impact on our health as well as environment. So one best example all of you might be aware is this Kasargod endosulfan tragedy. So this was a news in TV channels also sometimes back. So just I'll highlight 2 or 3 minutes regarding this incident. So here in Kerala, that is Kasargod area, so they grow cashew. So on this cashew, you have one serious pest which is called as a tea mosquito bug. So you can see the tea mosquito bug in the this picture. So what this tea mosquito bug does is it sucks the juice from the cashew. As a result, cashew yield will be decreased. So there they used to go grow cashew in a large scale. So spraying is a difficult task for them. So so they went for aerial spray of endosulfan. So what they did was they hired the helicopters. So they in the keeping the chemical insecticides on the helicopters. So they sprayed the insecticides. So they sprayed the insecticides. So what they did was, so the government recommended this to cut down the cost of labor. So they formed one union called Plantation Corporation of Kerala. So through this corporation, they went for aerial spraying of endosulfan since 1976. So especially they had grown cashew in an area about 4,500 hectares. So they used to spray at least 3 times a year in 15 villages in and around Kasargod. So this aerial spraying they continued for almost 24 years. So starting from 1976 till 2000, they went for aerial spray of pesticides on this cashew plantations with using this insecticide endosulfan. So the endosulfan did not show these side effects in these 24 years. So after 24 years, it started showing its side effects or impacts, especially when they were spraying. So especially some pregnant women were working in these plantations. So whatever the chemical they sprayed, so these chemicals they entered into the skin and entered into the womb of the pregnant woman. So whatever the children that were born to these women, they were malformed or ill uniformities like this. So you can see. So the spraying was done on their during the mother was working in the cashew plantations. So the insecticide that had entered into the womb had impacts like this. So you can see these are the ill-formed deformities in the people where aerial spray of endosulfan was taken. So similarly, we have some other photographs in the next slide that depict the endosulfan aerial spray. So you can look here. The size of the head is more compared to the body size. So everyone of has 5 fingers in the hand. So this girl has 2 fingers this side, 2 fingers this side. So this is due to the side effect of the endosulfan that was taken in aerial spray. So in this way, if we don't use the insecticides judiciously, it will have impact on our ourselves as well as our environment. So always we have to use judiciously the spray of insecticides. So next question is, whatever the insecticides we spray on the crops, what happened to these insecticides? So where will these insecticides go? Suppose if you look in the diagram, so this is a person who is applying the spray on the plant. So once we apply spray on the plant, so the leaves will absorb some of the pesticides. So some of the pesticides, it may go into the soil surface. So what are the pesticides? It go into the soil surface. It may get absorbed into the in between the soil particles, or some of the insecticides may be absorbed by the roots of the trees and it may enter into the foliage. Or if there is rain on that day, so due to washing of the rain, the chemical also will enter into the water bodies, or through the rain water it may leach into the groundwater table, or it may be used by the microorganisms as a food source, or the insecticide may go in the form of volatilization and finally it evaporates into the atmosphere. So whatever the insecticides that are present in the cloud, the rain again they come back to the plants. So in this way, the insecticides, whatever we are spraying, it will be rotated between the different compartments of the environment. So the compartments may be the insecticides enter into the atmosphere, or it may enter into the hydrosphere, or it may enter into the lithosphere. So between these atmosphere, hydrosphere, lithosphere, the insecticides will be rotating. Or due to sunlight, the insecticides may be degraded. So in this way, the insecticides, whatever we spray, it will be rotating from one environment to other environment. So nowadays we have novel technologies for managing insect pests. So I think you might have heard the crops like transgenic crops or BT crops. So whatever the toxin that is responsible for killing of insects, they are injected into the plant itself. For example, we have a bacteria called Bacillus thuringiensis. So this is the toxin that is responsible for killing of insects. So in transgenic crops, what happens is this BT is inserted into the crop. So since BT is inserted into the crop, so the crop, the toxin is entered into the crop. Second class में six triple eight. 2974. 6 888. Okay. But you pay सरकार की लग रहा है replacement. Sorry. If you take the mode of action of BT, so here the BT genes are inserted into the crop itself. So as a result, the crop becomes fully toxic. So whatever the insects that feed on these crops, they feed and die. So right now, this concept is used in BT cotton in our country, whereas in other countries, it is almost used in most of the staple food crops also. So next, coming to the advanced research areas inspired by insects. So which are the research areas that insects give aspirations? So nowadays we have this fly eye inspired cameras. I think most of you might have seen our cameras. So these cameras, they have a single focal lens. But nowadays, instead of a single focal lens, you have cameras with multiple lenses. So this concept is taken from the eye of the insects. For example, whatever you are seeing in the diagram is a compound eye of an insect. So this compound eye is made up of individual units called as ommatidia. So whatever the image that is perceived through these compound eyes, it forms a single image. So these ommatidia or the individual lens of the compound eye is used in the preparation of these fly inspired cameras nowadays. So this is one of the field where insects are used as a aspiration for coming out with multi-lens cameras. Similarly, the termite mounds built by them is used as a inspiration for building a multi-storied building with good ventilation as well as AC. So in olden days, the termites used to build termite mounds. So these termites mounds produced by the insect, it has to be going out. So you can see here there are chimney types chimneys built so that the carbon dioxide escapes through these chimneys. So in this way, the buildings, multi-storied buildings, they are inspiration from termite mounds. And nowadays, these bioluminescent avenue trees can also be explored. So most of you might have seen fireflies. So these fireflies, they emit light with the help of a chemical reaction. So what happens in the chemical reaction is there is a substance called luciferin. So this luciferin is converted into oxyluciferin in the presence of the enzyme luciferase. So by this chemical reaction, the light is emitted. So this light can be used in avenue trees or the roadside trees. You can see here. So if you use this technology of bioluminescence, you need not use electricity at all. So with the help of the light producing insects or the concept of light production, we can use this light production in the avenue trees. So here you can see here. So in front of the buildings, instead of electric lights, we can use bioluminescent trees in the future. Similarly, nowadays many robots are prepared with insects as aspiration. So here this is a natural cockroach. So this is a cockroach inspired robot. So we have a cockroach inspired robot. Similarly, we also have a robot inspiration by locust or grasshopper. So this locust robot, it can jump to a height of 11 feet high. Similarly, insects have three pairs of legs. So since they have three pairs of legs or six legs, they are commonly called as hexapoda. So nowadays we have insect inspired walking robots, especially they walk on six legs like insects. Similarly, nowadays these robot bees have been replaced by the natural honeybees. So for pollination purpose, you can exploit this robot bees instead of natural bees. So in this way, insects are inspired in preparation of robots. So the best ecosystem services provided by insects are pollinators. So the best ecosystem services provided by the insects are pollination sources, especially honeybees. So nowadays honeybees can be reared domestically in insect boxes, and these boxes can be used in migratory beekeeping. So remember, so whenever you go to the departmental stores or a vegetable or fruit market, so in the presence of bees, this is the productivity. You can see, you can get all the types of fruits in the supermarkets. Suppose if the bees are absent, you can see here some of the fruits and vegetables you cannot get. That means bees are very important in pollination purposes. So you can see the statement here. If all insects on the earth disappeared, within 50 years of lifetime, the earth would end. That means if the insects get disappeared, within 50 years, there will be no life on the earth at all. So this is the importance of insects. So if the bees disappear from the surface of the earth, man would have not less than 4 years to live. So man would not live more than 4 years. So this is the importance of insects in our society. So before going to other aspects, we will study some interesting facts about insects. So the smallest insect on the earth surface is Dicomorpha ecmipterygis. So this belongs to family Mimaridae, order Hymenoptera. So the length of the insect is 0.139 mm. So imagine the size of the insect is 0.139 mm. Similarly, this is another smallest insect which measures 0.17 mm. So these insects are used for biological control of harmful pests. So these are egg parasitoids which can be used in biological control of harmful insect pests. And if you see here, this is a stick insect. So this is the world's longest insect, measuring around 56.7 centimeter. That is more than half a meter. So this insect is found in Malaysian forests. So you can see here, this is the world's longest insect called stick insect, Fabaticus chini, belonging to order Phasmida, measuring around 56.7 centimeter. So another stick insect you can see here. The above one is a stick. Hanging to the stick is a stick insect. So these are the legs. These are the legs. This is the head region, and this is the tail region. So you cannot differentiate the dry stick from the stick insect. So this measures around 55.5 centimeters. That is Phrenesia serraticus. So these are the world longest stick insects. Next, coming to the largest wing area. So there is a moth called as Atlas moth. There is a moth called as Atlas moth. So this has a wing expansion of around 25 centimeter. So if you take the total wing expansion is around 400 square centimeter. So the common name is Atlas moth. The scientific name is Attacus atlas, belonging to family Saturnidae, order Lepidoptera. So you can see the size of this insect. Suppose if you put the insect on the face, you can see the size, how much big the insect is. Suppose if you hold the insect in your palm, you can see the size of the insect. So this is the world largest insect with a wingspan around 400 square centimeter. And coming to the most heaviest insect on the earth, heaviest insect on the earth. So this is a Goliath beetle. Goliath beetle. That is Goliath giganticus. Goliath giganticus. So this is found in African Congo area, weighing more than 100 grams. So you can imagine the size of this beetle, which weighs around 100 grams, found in African Congo forests. And there are some insects which can tolerate maximum temperatures as well as minimum temperatures. For example, this is a midge belonging to Diptera, that is Polypedilum vanderplanki. So this can tolerate a temperature up to 100 degree centigrades. So this can tolerate a temperature around 100 degree centigrade, and also at temperatures around minus 27 degree centigrade. Usually liquid helium is stored at this temperature. So these insects can tolerate extreme temperatures of maximum 100 degree centigrade and a minimum of 27 degree centigrade. And coming to the fastest flying insects, So there's a dragonfly called as Astrophlebia costalis. So this can fly at a rate of 98 kilometer per hour. So this dragonfly, it can fly at a speed of 98 kilometers per hour. So if you take the fastest human speed, it is around 36 kilometer per hour. So you might have, most of you have heard the name of the athletic, that is Usain Bolt. So if you take the average or highest speed, it is around 36 kilometer per hour. But the insects like dragonflies, they can fly at a speed of 98 kilometers per hour. And there are some insects that can even survive in the hot springs. So you can find insects that can even survive in the hot springs. For example, there is a fly called as Scatella thermarum. So this Scatella thermarum can live in hot springs of 48 degree centigrade. Similarly, we have another insect called Chironomus tentanus. So this can live in hot springs of temperature 49 degree centigrade. So you can expect the insects also to live in hot springs. Ganesh, Mute yourself. So some of the facts you might have not known, or some of the facts you might have known. So do you know that flies can taste with their feet? So all of us know that human beings can taste only with the tongue. Human beings can only taste with the tongue, but there are some flies like house flies that can taste with their feet. And if you take a cockroach can live up to 9 days without its head. So how is it possible? So if you cut the head of the cockroach, the rest of the body can live for 9 days without its head. So this is possible because the nervous system is distributed throughout the insect body. So only the brain is situated in the insect body, whereas the rest of the nervous system is located in the thorax and abdomen. So that will coordinate the insect activity. And there is a leaf cutter ant queen that mates only once in her lifetime. So leaf cutter ant queen, it mates only once in her lifetime. And whatever the sperms it takes from the males, the sperm viability is around 15 years. So whatever the sperms it takes from the male insects and stores in the insect body, so these sperms are viable for 15 years, and it can produce around 300 million offsprings with these sperms stored for 15 years. But if you take the sperms of human beings, if you take the sperms of male, once it enters to the body of female, hardly the viability is for 5 days. Maximum is 5 days. But in insects, the viability of the sperm is around 15 years. And if you take the jumping capacity of insects, if you take the jumping capacity of insects, so an insect like a flea, it can jump for 130 times of its own height. But in case of human beings, hardly the human beings may jump around 2 or 3 times more the height of human beings. But in insects, it can jump around 130 times its weight or size of the insects. And did you know that mosquitoes can beat their wings at a rate of 600 times per second? So mosquitoes can beat their wings at the rate of 600 times per second. And the record is, there is a midge fly. It holds a record with a wing beat of 1046 times a second. So there is a midge fly. So it has a record of wing beat of 1046 times a second. And how do the butterflies get their name as butterflies? So butterflies get their name by yellow brimstone butterfly of Europe. So the butterfly got its name from this yellow brimstone butterfly of Europe, that is first seen in the early spring season or butter season. So since this is noticed during the butter season on the earth, hence the name butterfly came into existence. So since it's came in butter season, it got the name butter. Since it can fly, the name it got it as butterfly. So these are some of the facts about insects which some of you might have known and some of you might have not known. So these are some of the facts about insects. So next aspect is evolution of insects. So how the insects evolved on the earth surface. So if you look at the diagram here, so this gives the origin of different creatures on the earth surface. So this gives the time scale. So this is the 0 million years and this is the 400 million years. So if you take human beings, so human beings came onto earth surface in a less than a 1 million year. So man originated less than a million year ago on the earth surface, whereas insects came onto earth surface around 350 to 500 million years back. So insects originated on the Earth's surface around 350 to 500 million years back. Whereas the next came the flowering plants. So the flowering plants may be approximately around 150 or 200 years back. So after the flowering plants, the birds originated. The birds took their origin. So after the birds, the mammals came into existence. After the mammals, the man came into existence. So remember, the insects came onto Earth's surface or evolved on the Earth's surface around 350 or 500 million years back. Whereas man came onto Earth's surface in a less than a million year ago. So there are some fossil proofs for evolution of insects. So there are some fossil proofs for evolution of insects. So the earliest known fossil insect is Rhiniella precursor. So Rhiniella precursor. So this belongs to order Collembola. So this evolved during a Devonian period. So Devonian period is around 400 million years ago in Scotland. So this fossil was reported from Scotland, and the age of this fossil was around 400 million years. So this is a Rhiniella precursor. And the first record of winged insect, is reported from upper Carbonaceous period, that is around 350 million years back. So remember, the winged insect's first record was during the upper Carbonaceous period around 350 million years back. The evolution of insects is closely followed by evolution of plants. So first the insect evolved, later on the plants evolved. So as plants dominated on the Earth's surface, insects also dominated. As plants dominated on the Earth's surface, insects also dominated. So remember, the most recently evolved insect order is Lepidoptera. The most recently evolved insect order is Lepidoptera, which includes moths and butterflies. And a highly evolved insect order is order Hymenoptera. Highly evolved insect order is order Hymenoptera, that includes honeybees, ants, wasps, etc. And oldest winged insect was Rhinognatha hirsute. Oldest winged insect was Rhinognatha hirsute, and this fossil was found during Silurian period. So this fossil was found during Silurian period, that is 417 to 443 million years ago. So this is the fossil of this Rhinognatha hirsute. And scientists have found fossils of giant insects. Scientists have found fossils of giant insects. For example, whatever the insect you are finding in this fossil is dragonfly. So this insect lived around 300 million years ago. So this dragonfly lived on the Earth's surface around 300 million years back. So if you take the wingspans, the wingspan measure around 2 feet. If you take the wingspan of the insect, the wingspan is around 2 feet. But if you take today's modern dragonfly, the wingspan is around only 19 centimeter. So today's dragonfly wingspan is 19 centimeter, whereas a dragonfly that lived around 300 million years ago, it had a wingspan of 2 feet. 2 feet means 60 centimeters. So 300 million years back, the dragonfly had a wingspan of 60 centimeter, but today the dragonflies have only 19 centimeter maximum. That means the insects had 3 times more wingspan in the olden days. So these are the some of the proofs that the insects of gigantic size were present in the olden days. So if you take the evolution of the Earth's surface, if you take the evolution of the Earth's surface, so 500 years back, so this is how the Earth looked. So this is the Permian period, and 200 million years back, 200 million years back, that is the Triassic era. So this is how the different the continent looked. And in Jurassic era, that is 150 million years back, this is how the Earth resembled. And 65 million years back, that is during Cretaceous period, this is how Earth looked. So this you can see here, this is the Asian continent. So in this Asian continent, you are unable to make out where India is exactly there. But in the present day work, you can see the Asian continent with India here. India here. Go back and look here. Nowhere you can see this Indian country that is fully developed. So this, as the Earth evolved, insects also kept on evolving. So you can see here. So I already told you 500 million years back itself, the insect ancestors, they came into existence, where the insects had 6 legs. Around 400 million year back, the insects that were present, they were wingless. Later on, after 300 million years ago, they started developing wings. Similarly, these wings, they didn't have any folds. The wings could not be folded in these insects. So later on, around 300 million years back, the wings developed in such a way that they could be folded on the insect body. Similarly, the present day insects, they have no external wing development. So you can see in the next slide, like here, as you see in the diagram. So this is the evolution tree of insects. This is the evolution tree of insects. So at the bottommost, you'll find the primitive insects. At the bottommost, you find the primitive insects. At the top of the tree, you'll find the highly evolved insects. So in primitive insects, already I told you, they were wingless. Primitive insects, they were wingless. So from these wingless insects, the insects with wings evolved. So from wingless insects, the insects with wings evolved. So as you see here, these are all wingless insects. So these are all wingless insects like bristle tails, jumping bristle tails, spring tails, proturans, diplurans. So these are all primitive wingless insects. Later on, the wings started evolving. So like in dragonflies, damselflies, mayflies, the wings have evolved. And in these wings, the wings could not be folded. So in these insects, the wings could not be folded. Later on, the wing folding insects evolved. So here in these insects, the wings could be folded on the body surface. And in these insects, in next insects, the wing development takes place external to the body surface. So next the insects evolved where the wing development was external to the body surface. So from this one, the insects with the wing development internal to the body surface evolved. Internal to the body surface evolved. And finally, the advanced insects like honeybees, wasps, and ants evolved, where they led their social life. So in these insects, the social life was absent, whereas in advanced insects like honeybees, ants, and wasps, the community living or social life evolved. So in this way, from primitive wingless insects, the highly evolved or advanced insects evolved through the time. So in a previous chart I have showed you. So this is the olden day insects and these are the present day insects. So columbolans are the olden days insects and the highly evolved insects include Hymenoptera and Lepidoptera. So this table gives the association between plants and insects through geological time through three different eras. So here there are three eras. One is Paleozoic era, that is ancient life; Mesozoic era, medieval life; Cenozoic era, which is modern life. So this Paleozoic era is in between 600 million years to 250 million years. Mesozoic era is 200 million years to 150 million years. And the Cenozoic era is 100 million years to less than 50 million years. So in the first column, this is the plant life that evolved through different times, and this is the animal life that evolved through different times. So if you take this Cambrian period, that is around 600 million years ago, only plants that were found during that time were algae and fungi. And the only animal life that was present on the Earth's surface was invertebrates, some chordates. So these were evolved around 600 million years ago. And the second one is 500 million years ago, that is Silurian period, where the land plants or terrestrial plants came into existence. Similarly, marine invertebrates and crustaceans in animal life, they came into existence during Silurian life or 500 million years ago. And in 400 million years ago, that is Devonian life, the ferns came into existence. So remember, 400 million years ago in Devonian period, the first type of insects, that is apterygotes, that is insects without wings, came onto Earth surface. So in animal kingdom, insects came into existence during the Devonian period around 400 million years ago. Then 300 million years ago, which is called as a Carboniferous period, the tropical forests were formed. So forest came into existence, that is tropical forest came into existence. Then from apterygotes, the winged insects evolved. So here in apterygotes, they were wingless, whereas in this condition, winged insects came into existence, like grasshoppers that belong to Orthoptera. And 250 million years ago, which is called as a Permian period, this gymnosperms came into existence. And here the thrips and bugs evolved from these insects. So the next era is Mesozoic era or medieval life, that is 200 years ago, that is Triassic period. So this gymnosperms evolved with the dominance of bug insects. And 150 years back, that is Jurassic era. So here also the gymnosperms, conifers dominated. So this was the era where dinosaurs came into existence. So dinosaurs is nothing but the origin of mammals. And here the insects like dipterans and dragonflies, they evolved from these insects. And the last one is Cenozoic era, that is 100 years back, which is called as Cretaceous period. The flowering plants came into existence. So after the evolution of flowering plants, these termites and social insects, they evolved. So social insects may be ants, honeybees, etc. And finally, 50 million years ago, which is called the Paleogene and Neogene era, the angiosperms dominated. So finally, the lepidopterans, that is moths and butterflies, came into existence. So in this way, as different forms of plants evolved, the different forms of different forms of animals, including insects, evolved over the period of time. So this is how 600 million years back to 50 million years back, how the plants evolved. Along parallelly, the insects also evolved on the Earth surface. So this is about the evolution of insects. So in this diagram, you can see how the insects evolved from the annelids. So annelids are nothing but earthworms. So annelids are nothing but earthworms. So from earthworms, how exactly the insects evolved? So if the first one is this one. So this is a segmented ancestor. Segmented ancestor means segmented earthworm. You can see here the body is divided into different segments. So in segmented ancestors, the worm, it looks like worm-like. As you see in the diagram, this looks worm-like, and it is short. So this is short, and you have a unsegmented pre-oral part or prostomium. So in this region, you will find unsegmented pre-oral part, or which is also called as prostomium. And here on the ventral side, the mouth is situated. So here in this position, the mouth is situated. That is, mouth is situated ventrally between the prostomium and the first segment. So remember, the first one is the prostomium, the second one is the first segment. So in between prostomium and first segment, the mouth started arising. And the last segment is called as anus. The last segment is called as anus. And here, this head condition can be considered as primitive head. Primitive head. So I'll repeat again. In the first stage, that is segmented stage, the organism was worm-like. Anteriormost segment is called as prostomium. Mouth started appearing between prostomium and the first segment. The last segment is called as anus, and here the head is not well developed. It is called as primitive head. So from this segmented like worm, the next type of insect started, the next type of organism started evolving. So here what happens is each segment between the prostomium and anal segment. So this is the prostomium, this is the anal segment. So in between all the segment started acquiring movable appendages. So remember, in the second stage what happened is the segments between prostomium and anus, they started acquiring the legs. Legs are nothing but lateroventral appendages. And here also the antenna started appearing on the head surface. Antenna started appearing the head surface, especially in the prostomium region. So in second stage what happened is the legs started appearing in between the segments and the antenna started in the head region. So the second stage is called as onychophoran stage. Onychophoran stage. In the third stage is called as myriapode stage. Third stage is called as myriapode stage. So here what happens is the prostomium fuses with the first segment. The prostomium fuses with the first segment to form a structure called as head. And one more thing is here, if you see the legs are unsegmented. So in onychophorans, the legs are unsegmented. But in myriapods, the legs started segmentation. The legs started segmentation. So this is the third stage of insect evolution. The fourth stage is wingless insects. The fourth stage is wingless insects. So in wingless insects, the body started distinguishing into three body parts. The first body is head, second body is thorax, third body part is abdomen. So in wingless insect stage, the body got differentiated into three regions: head region, thoracic region, and abdominal region. And in the head region, you have mouth parts that are used for feeding purpose. In the thoracic region, you have three pairs of legs. Three pairs of legs. In the abdominal region, you can see here, whatever the legs that were fully developed here, the legs started reducing. Here, the legs started reducing in the abdominal region. And finally, the last stage is the winged insect. Finally, the last stage is the winged insects. So in the winged insects, the body takes virginal form. Body takes virginal form. So you have clear cut three body regions: head, thorax, abdomen. So here in wingless insects, the wings were absent. In wingless insects, the wings were absent. Here, two pairs of wings started arising, especially on the meso and metathoracic region. That is, on the second thoracic segment and the third thoracic segment, the wings started appearing. And here, whatever the stubs or leftover abdominal appendage you see here, they completely degenerated. They completely degenerated. So in this way, insect evolved from the annelid like stage to the fully formed insects. So I'll repeat again. In the first stage, stage, the body is worm-like. Body is worm-like. Anterior region is called as prostomium. Posterior region is called as anus. And this is a primitive head. In the second stage, what happens is all the middle segments, they acquire a pair of appendages or a pair of legs. And antenna starts appearing in the head region. In the third stage, whatever the legs that were unsegmented, the legs get segmented. Legs get segmented. And in the fourth stage, there is a union of the first thoracic segment with the prostomium to form a head region. So the head region carries mouth parts. And region you will find well-developed pairs of legs. In the abdominal region, the abdominal appendages start degenerating. In the final stage, you have well-developed head, well-developed thorax, well-developed abdomen. So a pair of wings, two pairs of wings start appearing on the second thoracic segment and the third thoracic segment. And whatever the leftover legs you see here, the legs completely degenerate. So this is how the insects evolved from the annelid or segmented worm-like stage to the present day insects. So this is how the insects evolved. So I think this is what I wanted to cover today. So hope you didn't have any network issues. So as far as my record, around 90 people have logged in today. So if I take out the report, I'll come to know what time you have logged in, what time you have logged out, how many times you have logged in. So if you get a shortage of attendance, I am not responsible. So I think we'll stop here, and next class we'll start with the history of entomology. So thank you all of you. So if you have any doubts, you can discuss now. So if you have any doubts, we can discuss now. Sir, how come oldest winged insect is different from first winged insect? So there is a question in the chat box. So the old insects, they were gigantic in size. Old insects, they were gigantic in size. The wingspan was around 2 feet. That is 60 centimeter wingspan they had in olden day insects. Whereas in the present day insects, the maximum wingspan, as I showed in one of the moth, it is around 25 centimeter wingspan. So hope you have got the answer for your question. So if you have any questions, you can unmute yourself and you can speak. So why were they gigantic? Why were they gigantic? So in the insects, the earlier evolved insects, they may be gigantic for various purposes. Suppose if they have to collect their food sources, they have to fly for long distances. So since if they have to fly for long distances, they should have a well-developed wings. So because of the well-developed wings, they were gigantic in size. Oldest winged insects was different, and I think already that I've answered. I think oldest winged insects are different from because of evolution. For example, earlier earlier evolved insects, they did not have any wings, whereas the later evolved insects, they have wings. And earlier, when the wings developed, the wings could not be folded on their body, whereas later on, the wings could be folded on the insect body. So earlier, the wing development was external to the body surface. Later on, the wing development took place internal to the body surface. So over a period of time, the insects developed their own changes for exist for surviving in the nature. So all of you know the survival of the fittest theory. So whichever is strong, that will survive. The rest will perish. So to meet the modern day requirements like food, shelter, they evolve themselves. So you might have known that giraffe, why the head is long. So since they have to reach out to the tall trees, the head was very long. So based on this, the animals or insects kept on evolving. In honeybees, where wings are developed. In honeybees, it is internal wing development because there are two types of metamorphosis. One is insects with incomplete metamorphosis, insect with complete metamorphosis. In insects with incomplete metamorphosis, we have three stages. That is, young ones, young ones, egg, nymph and adult. In incomplete metamorphosis, we have egg, nymph and adult. So there the wing development takes place external to the body surface. And further, the insects with complete metamorphosis evolved. There they have four stages: egg, larva, pupa, adult. So here the wing development started internally. So remember, insects with incomplete metamorphosis had external wing attachment. Insects with complete metamorphosis, they have internal wing attachment. So honeybees come under complete metamorphosis. So since they have come under complete metamorphosis, the wing development is internal. So any more questions? You need not put in chat box also. You can directly unmute yourself and you can interact. No more questions? So if no more questions, so we'll stop here. From next class onwards, I will be interacting with you in the middle by calling by names. So in the next class, if you are, I want to know whether you are alert or not, or simply you are putting on the mobile and sleeping. So I'll be asking questions in between. So I'll be calling by names. You have to answer the questions by unmuting yourself. So since this is the first week, I have given introduction to the course. So next week, the regular portion starts with history of entomology.
Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you all of you.
Thank you, sir.
We'll meet on Monday for next class.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all of you.